A lot going on this week, guys. I'd love to start with Jeff Sessions in the segment I'm calling Total I Don't Recall Gate. Because actually, guys, Jeff Sessions didn't really tell us a lot during that long testimony there on Capitol Hill, did he?
He couldn't answer some of the most basic questions that people were asking. Did you give Trump this recommendation, and how did that whole process come together? Did Trump come to you and just ask you to give him a fake recommendation, or was it a real recommendation? And that was the thing that Sessions just refused to answer. He said he wouldn't talk about any conversations he had with the president that had not been already made public.
Not exactly. It sounded like a lot of bullshit to me. I think it was pretty clear from the outset that he was going to be saying a lot of I don't recall.
Why was it that he was so nervous that Kamala Harris was grilling him?
Yeah, I don't know. He was. Yeah, he did say, like, you're making me nervous. And it's possible he was flustered, too, because Obama one time famously said a few years ago that Kamala Harris was the best-looking attorney general in the country. And Obama kind of had to apologize for that, being like, oh, shit, I didn't mean to objectify you.
I don't think anybody's going to be saying that about Jeff Sessions. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. But maybe he was a little nervous in the moment. He's like, "Oh my God, it's Kamala Harris."
Jeff Sessions hasn't been this nervous since his one black friend, Clarence Thomas, sexually harassed him. But that's that's another story. So Anita Hill, anybody? Shout out to Anita Hill.
Like, the whole point of executive privilege is that it has to be invoked in order for it to take effect. So if you always preemptively invoke executive privilege, or if you always use the logic that Jeff Sessions is using here, you would always invoke executive privilege, and you would never talk about any conversation with the president.
Sessions never received or cared to receive any kind of intelligence briefing on Russian interference in the election. Now, this is really troubling for me, and I want to get your feedback on this, guys, because the pattern that I'm seeing here is one in which all of the individuals who have nefarious-looking connections to Russia are the ones who don't seem concerned in the slightest about learning or gathering any information on what exactly happened here.
There was news about the expansion of the legal team that's going into the special counsel's investigation, and it's full of like seasoned kind of badass lawyers and people with long resumes. And in reading about this is like an announcement of like the Justice League that's coming out of the woodwork to put their forces together to investigate and figure out what really happened. And what I found cool was just kind of like seeing the rundown of who are the people on the team. So one name that was mentioned is a woman named Lisa Page.
Is that Larry Page's sister-in-law? The former senator who got caught having gay sex in a bathroom in Idaho, or no?
I don't know about that, but she sounds like a badass, like an expert in analyzing Russian organized crime and the oligarchs and stuff like that.
He used the word deep state. He used
the deep state.
He used the Alex Jones terminology. Is like.
Oh my God, Alex!
Like Mueller, as if Mueller is like a part of this giant conspiracy that's run by Obama and Hillary and George Soros. One more thing on Alex Jones before we move on. He recorded, without Megyn Kelly's permission, he recorded the before and after conversations that Megyn Kelly had with him. It was like a secret recording, and it was her basically telling him that they were going to make him look like he wasn't crazy.
And also, come on, like, it doesn't really look good for you if you are Alex Jones, if you are releasing a recording and the reporter is saying, I'm going to try to not make you look crazy, because the innuendo there is that, yeah, you are fucking crazy, and I'm going to try to go out of my way to make you
I'll
look
do my best.
Crazy. Our reaction to these type of mass shootings really is entirely predicated upon the motive, or the propagated motive of the shooter, or of the assailant, let's say, like, writ large. So when it's the Manchester attack and the guy is clearly inspired by ISIS, is a transformative moment. We need to take action against these Islamic extremists, right? But when it's a crazy guy, when it's a domestic terrorist who has acquired a firearm and is let loose, and there's a mass shooting,
and is white.
And is white, right, which is the biggest element of it all. It's A, not called terrorism in the media, and B, Republicans are kind of like nothing to see here, right? It's almost like, oh, this is so unfortunate. Like, let's pray on this and like hope this never happens again, as if there's nothing that they can do to stop this from happening again. Which I'm sorry to like, this is not us here on the pod capitalizing or distorting an unfortunate event for political purposes. It's just unfortunately calling out the reality that there are things that we can do here, right? There is meaningful gun control and gun reform that we can enact in this country. We don't have to throw our hands up and say, oh, there's nothing we could do here, right? This was a domestic abuser and he was clearly troubled. Yes, he volunteered for the Bernie campaign, but like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? I mean, like that like, you could have told me he was a neo-Nazi and like we would have come to the same conclusion. Like, let's keep guns out of the hands of crazy people.